Guys. Thank you. I know this was really quick. Literally 10 minutes before I said, you know what, I'm going to have a chat with these guys regarding, well, you've seen the title, the North-South divide in the United States of America and what kind of impact it's having on the Black community. I know it's always been there, so, you know, I picked this up yesterday. So yesterday we were speaking, and I was like, there is such a massive difference in the ideologies between those in the South and those in the North. And I found that, I don't know, it wasn't perplexing, but I actually asked myself, just how much of an impact is it having between Black people in the United States unifying? Are we struggling to unify in the States? Is what is going on? We had a bit of a contentious conversation yesterday. Once again, it's been contentious all the bloody time about the ADOS. Of course, we had a conversation about that. I don't mind talking about that today, but it's not. I mean, I wanted to really stick on course with the. I wanted to stick with speaking about the actual title of this particular live. It just. America is a big country, okay? America is a big country, and the people in America, right, the cultures, there is culture there, and all those cultures, the culture in Florida is different than the one in Texas. I'm talking about just Black culture. Black culture in Texas is different than that in NOLA. The culture in NOLA is different than the one in Ohio. The one in Ohio is different than the one in Cali. The one in Cali is different than the one in the tri-state area. So many people, so many different cultures. So how are those cultures affecting the ideology of the people that live there? Okay, so you got southern Black people who are mostly Christian. Taking that out of my head. You have southern Black people who are mostly Christian, who have conservative views that they hold, deeply conservative views, okay? And they believe wholeheartedly in their lives and in the way they live their life. They don't veer off from it. That's it. And they stick to that. Okay, and then you have people in California, Black people in California, of course, culturally has changed over the last, say, 30 years, has it? You've had a lot more people in California, a lot more Black people in California now have become more, dare I say, liberal. They've become more liberal. They've become more open-minded. That's just the way it is, right? The ones in sort of the Northeast, it's complicated, isn't it? Because I think you've got Black people living in the city are totally different than the ones that live sort of further upstate who have different problems. Right? In the city, you know where you are, you know where you need to be, and you can be comfortable being yourself, say in New York City, right? You can be comfortable being yourself in New York City because you know where you are, right? And you know about the different, you don't see tons of Black people going to bloody Coney Island not Coney Island. What's the name of the place? Where do all the police officers and fire chiefs live and stuff like that? The Irish. They live in New York. Yeah, that borough. I'm going to try and put it up on my phone. But you don't see black people going over there a lot. I have a cousin living there. I don't really like her. I don't like her. She's married to a white Irish American guy. Been married for some 30 years, something like that. Not a nice person. Not the white guy. He's all right, actually. My cousin. So, and I'm gonna put this up. I'm gonna put this up right there before I even go into this, because this is just gonna blow my mind apart. If you guys know, then please tell me. Would they continue? It is. Gosh, where are you? America. Here we go. Here's the boroughs here. Staten Island. Jesus, Staten Island. So that's where my cousin lives, in Staten Island. And yeah, it's completely different cultures depending on the place where you're living. You know, even in a micro sort of a micro area like New York, or considered. It's not it's a big city, but there are bigger. Okay, so we have many different types. Hello, Malika. Hello. There are many different types of these microcultures living in these areas as well. And they don't all get along. Are black people fragmented in the United States? More so, and how can we unify? Do you want to unify? It's a good question. Do black people in the United States want to unify? Okay, I put it up. I put it up as that question, right? I put up the question about the different ideologies. And I had one person already reply back to it saying, why are you talking about the United States for? You know, what's that got to do? Well, what's it got to do with me? It's nothing to do with me. I'm not American, but we just don't have the same nuanced problems in the United Kingdom. Well, maybe we do. The white folk do, but we don't. So it's very, very interesting for me to see it. I'm not even sure if the problem exists, but I know from yesterday's conversation. Hello, Abdo Bo Young. Hello, and hello, the last African. Yes, okay. The last African says we are already unified, but from the conversation they were having yesterday, okay. God of Jacob says there is no north-south divide, but from yesterday's conversation, the ideology was different. Especially once again with Danny. Again, you could tell that he had a different perspective on the ADOS movement altogether. His was more simple and more sort of boom, you know, this is our goal. Nothing else should even we shouldn't even have a conversation about anything else. Nothing else should sort of take our eyes off the prize. You understand? So that's, and I was only getting that more from the guys in the South, really. And then some of the, I mean, I can't, who else was it? The Mr. Pirate Brain. He had the same sort of, I don't know, it's just smooth. Maybe it's just his smooth personality, but the way he was talking, it was like, no sweat. We know what we want. We're going for it. You understand? And I'm just wondering, is that, I mean, is there, I mean, I don't even know whether there is a problem, right? But is there the difference? What is the difference between the ideologies between people in the South and people in the North, because they seem to be different. Danny was speaking to ADOS. Okay. Malika, we have no divide, just living in different parts. Lifestyles may differ. Oh, no, I'm not saying you don't dislike each other. That's one thing I'm not saying. It's clear that everyone gets along as Black people. All I'm saying is that clearly there was a difference in approach to political solutions, to problems, to everything. You could just see in the way the Southerners were sort of talking last night. They seemed undeterred, sort of like, I don't know, maybe it was like, you know, we are I mean, I didn't really want to talk about Nakmizi and Danny, the way they were talking to each other last night. You could tell that there was some sort of friction there. And I'm hoping that friction wasn't north-south. I think I was hoping that it was more just something personal between these two. And, you know, boom, you know. Danny seems to have this sort of straight in his mind, right? So is that just the Southern way of doing things? Is that the Southern ideology? Is it just confined to Black people? Is it the Black people in the South and white people in the South? Do they all have that sort of way of thinking that keep things simple, focus, you know, don't let anger blur your vision, you know? The difference is more city ADOS and country. Yeah, well, yeah. But what's the difference between country ADOS and city ADOS? Is it? I mean, clearly there's a difference between country and city. When I was living in the States, there was a clear difference between Black people who lived in the country in the South and Black people that came from the city. Okay. Hello, Tobo. There was clearly a difference. Culturally as well, of course, culturally. So how does that culture impact ideology? You know, does it make you feel more in the South? Does it make you feel more confident that things are going to go well? I mean, even last night, speaking to what's his name? Oh goodness, what's his name? Pirate Brain. He seemed, listen, it's going to happen, and you know, there was no question, no doubt in it. And I'm just hoping that Nakmizi wasn't just is just alone in the way he thinks, you know. The attack sort of mode sort of thing, attack, you know, and no sort of dialogue, not being able to formulate a proper dialogue. That is, I mean, he's from the tri-state area, and a lot of the tri-state guys are like that, right? A lot of the tri-state guys are quite militant in the way they approach things, even if they don't have anything to back it up. And I think no offense, but I think that's what Danny was sort of pointing at last night. You know, a lot of guys from the tri-state area, please don't attack me for this, guys, but I'm going to say this. A lot of the guys from the tri-state area tend to, their bark is bigger than their bite. I think that's what Danny was alluding to last night. And sorry, let's have a look. Jesse Bethia, I think that's how you say your name. Hello, Jesse. I have lived in the South and North. People are more humble in the South. I wonder what the reason is for that. I'm not going to start pitting you guys off, you know what I mean? But Nakmizi, clearly doesn't, but he still supports the movement, clearly. If Nakmizi hears somebody say something bad about ADOS, he's on him. So he's confusing a lot of people, because a lot of people are like, well, you know, You know, this guy must be ADOS because he's going for it. He's going for it, man. He's, you know. But when you find out that he's not, it's like, okay, well. And clearly, and this is another thing as well, because he says he's not ADOS because he's got a Caribbean wife, Caribbean mixed kids, right? So he said he's not ADOS. But I think, God of Jacob, you may want to answer this one. I think that there are chapters in the United States that would accept him as being ADOS, even if he's married to a Caribbean woman, right? Because he was saying that he couldn't be ADOS because I've got a Caribbean wife and my kids are half Caribbean. Thank you, Gail Lockett. Thank you. So yeah, country black people, typically associated with black people, whereas city black is associated with multiple ethnic groups. Oh, okay. That answers a lot. That answers a lot. So in the South, generally, there isn't a ton of, like, I say a ton, Dominicans, Puerto Ricans. You have black Puerto Ricans, you have black Dominicans, black Hispanics. You don't have the Caribbeans aren't really down there in numbers either. You know, you're not going to get Jamaicans in. You might have them, but there isn't a huge Jamaican population in Texas, is there? You know, so you could comfortably say you're black, and people will make the assumption straight away that you are ADOS down there, right? That your lineage comes from there, unmistakably. So, but whereas up in the city, it is black can mean, you know, you're from the Bahamas, you know, you're from Ecuador. You could be from Bolivia and you could be black, you know, or you could be, you know, so it's a lot more of a mix in the city. That means, I answered that one. Many support, but do not. Okay, and that is okay. All right. So now you're making sense there. But yeah, let's understand. Yes, thank you, Gail. Thank you. Please hit the like button. Don't know what that does, but yeah, please hit the like button. ADOS lineage has nothing to do with your spouse. It's individual. But so why was he saying that then? It's a shame he's not on tonight. I had to block him last night because he started ranting off, didn't he? So it's a shame he's not here to sort of chat. I don't really like talking about people behind their backs, but we're being respectful, right? As long as we're respectful, we can talk about whoever we want, right? Just keep it respectful. More blacks and no, is there more blacks in the South? Is that true? Is there more ADOS in the South? And if there is more ADOS in the South, are they sort of stronger? Do they have more of a say when it comes to the organization and how it works? Well, the thing is, WST, God of Jacob, he said last night that it's growing. It wasn't last night, actually, it was the night before. He said that the ADOS organization is growing very fast, very rapidly. But I haven't seen the numbers yet. I don't know how many people are. ADOS is based on direct family line. So does that mean direct family line? So that means that he can be ADOS, but his children can't. Malika. That was more specifically for Malika. Nakmizi's wife has nothing to do with that. But so why is he saying that, Bo Diddley? What he's saying that he can't support, he can't follow, he can't be a part of the ADOS movement because his wife is Caribbean. He's saying that somebody told him that. He's saying this. He said this last night as well. Specifically, it's recorded. It's on the last record. So why is that the case? I called him a hypocrite. Oh, you called him specifically a hypocrite because he criticized the other ADOS content creator for marrying an African woman and being ADOS. Huh? I mean, once again, I don't want to go into the specifics of this, but that's, you know, I have children. My children are mixed Caribbean children, right? They're mixed Caribbean children. And he has mixed Caribbean children. And he was criticizing me for having mixed Caribbean children. I'm like, what? I was sitting there like, what the fuck? What's this guy talking about? That did happen. Yeah. And I told him that in confidence, actually. I don't like talking about my family online. I told him that in confidence, and he sort of put it on the internet, and I wasn't too happy about that. So yeah. Yeah. Last night, I think we've had 3 lives, and we've spoken more specifically about ADOS, right? And I guess the first two lives we did, the first 2, I was more confused about the movement after the live. I was like scratching my head. I actually made a video. I'm going to post it after this, and I made it after my first live. Okay, so it's nothing to do with last night. It's to do with the one before. I'm going to post that in a bit. It was more speaking to fact he's not connected to ADOS, being that he married a biracial Caribbean woman and moved to Europe. Okay. But he was living in the Dutch Antilles, wasn't he? One of the ABC islands, Antigua, Bonaire, Curacao. I think he was living in Curacao. So I'm not sure whether he moved to. Well, he had to work, right? And I'm not sure what he does, but I think he looks like he works in the oil industry or something. I might be wrong. I definitely don't want to be involved with any of these groups. Why is that, anime? It might be a silly question, but why is that? ADOS isn't seeking memberships; it's seeking action politically. Fair enough. Fair enough. And let me ask you guys. I know there's more than one sort of ADOS guy inside here. These chapters, who all sort of have their own kind of, I don't know, there's nuanced differences between each chapter. They're not all exactly the same, right? Do these chapters have different approaches in getting political action? Is the South more powerful politically than the North? ADOS are sprinkled around. Most find each other on the internet. Okay, yes, thank you. ADOS has had a conference with a presidential candidate in it. Yeah, I saw that. And I liked her, actually, which is strange. Yeah. But those who don't agree with ADOS will tell you it's an internet thing. Yeah. Yeah. I didn't see all of the conference, but obviously I've watched videos on YouTube with Yvette Carnell there. It's exciting. There's exciting stuff. ADOS is a lot of divisive hate mongering. The real victory is one with all black and white. It's a very liberal way of looking at things, and quite a powerful statement. ADOS is focused on reparations, not who you are married to. Family lineage. He does not understand. My son-in-law is Louisiana's ADOS. My daughters are American born, but not ADOS. Grand half ADOS. Oh, so it's pretty convoluted. So how does that work out for you, Wendy? How would that work out for her? I mean, there's so many, it's so mixed in terms of reparations. How would that work out? Sorry, I'm asking the reparations question again. How is ADOS divisive? It's thrown out with no explanation. Yeah, I know. Yeah, how is it divisive? I don't know. I'm going to try and answer this because I know it was one of the gentlemen back here that said it. How is ADOS divisive? ADOS, I think some of its members don't do the organization justice. God of Jacob, I would say that definitely, and we can see. I know you guys don't like all these different ethnicities coming into your business, but you know, people are going to have their opinions. People are going to talk about it regardless of whether the ADOS faithful like it or not. And these people can see Yvette Carnell. They can see her doing pretty well at trying to make sure that the ADOS organization stays on track. I think she kicked out a lot of the xenophobes, right? Which was a powerful move. Really good, really good. If you put 5 people of either group together and ask what the qualifications to belong are, they'll give you 5 different answers. Ain't nobody got time for that. Well, yeah. I mean, that's Gail. I've got to say this. This is probably part of the reason why I was so confused, right? And if I'm confused, then there are going to be other people who are confused. I'm okay with it because I'm not ADOS, right? But there are going to be other ADOS members who are going to be like confused. And I think this is what I was trying to say earlier. There are people who don't know. There is somebody put on a website, right? Someone put on a website. So that yesterday, was it ados101.com or something like that, or .gov, not gov, .org. That sort of explains it and goes deeper into it. And I think that's for the people who think they are ADOS, to clarify it with them. I haven't read that yet, and I should do, really, if I'm going online talking about it. It's kind of ignorant for me not to do so. He has no understanding. They keep mixing personal life choice with the mantra of organization. Well, you know, all I'm spewing out is what I'm hearing. And we've had 3 conversations. 2 of them were 3.5 hours long. You know, I should know by now what is the mantra of the organizations, right? Of the organization. I should know that by now because I've spoken to a lot of guys on here who are very knowledgeable about the movement. So the reality is, Malika, that shouldn't be the case right now. Is there an ADOS manifesto available online? I think there is. I think so. Does anybody want to answer that, guys? Is there an ADOS manifesto available online so that people who think that they may be ADOS can just go online, check it out, and just boom, you know? And if anybody, because what are you going to have? You're going to have people who have different perspectives on what ADOS should be, right? It's going to be a bit of a mixture of people who are going to have completely different ethoses on what is ADOS and what isn't. Is there a place where you can just go and say, that's what it is? And if anybody tells me different, I could just say, listen, ADOS 101, boom, here, shut up, you know. So so yeah, is there a place? I'm guessing it's ADOS 101. That's the website. Good to have you back, Samumba. Good to have you back. She's a hack, according to you. Who's a hack? God of Marianne Williamson is a hack. No one took her seriously until as a presidential. Oh, yeah. I think that's sad. She had some good ideas. You know, I think we're all losers when it comes to the presidential. But I'm happy to see Trump gone. If I've got to be honest with you, I think the whole world, the rest of the world outside the United States, even the United States, half the United States, right? More than half the United States is happy to see them gone. Uru fam. Georgia decided the presidential. Georgia has a huge black population. Oh yeah, the election, you should say, right? Georgia decided the election, and Georgia has a huge black population. So yes, the South has more political power. Yeah. I would say because they have different point systems, right? I'm guessing each state does, and I think the northeast states are the ones that have more clout. So if you win sort of New York, Pennsylvania, those places, like the Democrats pretty much always do. Yeah. No one took Kamala Harris serious as a candidate. That's why she didn't get the nomination. He's got a point. A white woman, yes, Marianne Williamson. Say What You Will by Marianne brought reparations to the podium in a presidential debate. Makes a fine point. Nobody else would have had the balls to do that, right? Fair play to her. As far as reparations is concerned, if you do not qualify as ADOS, you will not receive simple. Can I just ask this? Who is writing these qualifications up? Is it the ADOS organization? I mean, let's just say the government stood up and started listening. Would they automatically go to the ADOS organization and say, yo, you guys, we want to do this, or would they go to another body? Would they go to, what's the other one called? Is it, because there's more than one, isn't there? We're going to add Daniel Boone to the live stream because he's normally quite smart when it comes to these things.
What's going on with you, brother?
How you doing, Daniel? How you doing? It's nice to speak to you again. Did you read the title? What we're talking about?
About the North and the South.
Yeah, about the different is there a different ideology from the North and the South when it comes to black ideology, and how does it differ? Which one is better? Is one of them better or what?
I touched on it. I touched on it with the brother San in the second interview. Just the diversity from when you're up north, New York, and that separation from I would say slavery that existed. If you look at the Great Migration as that happened in the 30s and whatnot, where all of the blacks from down south immigrated up north. So essentially you can look at it as almost like people from up north grow up almost as a second generation immigrant, you could say, within the United States, as it relates to their lineage and connection to slavery and whatnot. Because if you look at Jim Crow and all that, those things didn't really exist up north. So they just grew up a more integrated experience when you look at New York, like, so that causes a bit of a cultural difference between the two of us. And I'm gonna tell you from a personal level, anybody can attest to this, anybody can attest to this. Specifically, New Yorkers have this superiority complex where they feel as if they're the smartest and toughest people in the room. And historically, every time they come down south, anytime they cross the Carolinas, it's always a problem because they come down south as if they're smarter than us and that they can run game. And just to a New Yorker. A New Yorker will always tell you that down south people are slow. They always tell you. It's just a fact. So they feel as if they're smarter.
Yeah, I didn't want to bring up the superiority word. Literally, I was leaving that for somebody else to bring that up because
down south, we're a bit more prideful to things like that. Things like that.
Yeah, we've heard. One of the first comments that I got on here was that there is no problem. There's absolutely no problem between the North and the South when it comes to the culture between black people. They just gel together. But I just thought, wait a minute, that can't be the case, really, because even here in Europe, I could travel from here, literally cross the border into Germany, and these people are different, man. They're just different people. Yeah, you understand? The cultures are different. Everything is changed, even though it's all white people. They're just different people, right? So to say that I can travel sort of 50 kilometers in one direction and it will be different, and then you've got people on here saying, wait a minute, there's absolutely no difference between a black person in New York in terms of ideology and the way they do things. There's no difference between someone in New York or Connecticut or wherever and there is from somebody in Florida. I'm like, I don't know, man. I don't think, I think somehow that these cultures would sort of clash, right? I mean, they've got to clash at some point.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because that connection that we had to slave, and like to a New Yorker, we're called country. Anything past Carolina, they refer to us as country. So because we had that connection, like even up to the food we eat, like chitlins on Thanksgiving, you know what I mean? That connection to slavery. You know what chitlins are? You know what chitlins are?
Is it chicken guts?
No, it's the pig intestines.
Oh, we have something like that in Jamaica. Yeah. But it's not pig intestines. It's like it's goat intestines.
Yeah, tripe. So, but you know that. But culturally though, those type of dishes come from that connection to slavery. Because chitlins is almost like a celebratory food. Like you see that, like that's not something we eat every day, but like on Thanksgiving, Christmas, when all the family come around, you'll see chitlins. So it's just a cultural but to a New Yorker, that's like, they eat chitlins, they country, they slow. So it's just these little cultural nuances, that we're more still attached to. We more so still have an attachment to. Whereas New Yorker is more so culturally diverse. Almost you can lose your identity.
So basically, do you think they're going to have more of a problem in like the Northeast determining who is ADOS and who isn't?
I think not necessarily determining, but it'll be more of a problem with those embracing being ADOS. Whereas down south, it's a no-brainer. It's a no-brainer. Like ADOS, it's like, we've been through that. You know what I mean? It's a no-brainer. But up north, that's when it'll be more so because they have so many different ideologies that they grew up under. You might have one person who grew up a Hebrew Israelite, one person that grew up Nation of Islam with Farrakhan, one person grew up a Moor, one person grew up hanging with Jamaicans thinking he's Jamaican, another person he grew around Puerto Rican so he think he's Puerto Rican. So we don't really have that confusion down south. We all growed up ADOS, you know, Southern Baptists, going to church. We not doing no voodoo. We don't care about African spirituality. We don't care about none of that.
Okay. So would you say that the Southerners are more focused, naturally focused on getting meeting their goal of getting reparations, and also, you know, they have less luggage? Is that what you're saying?
Essentially, yeah, less luggage. It's just more connected. It's more of a connection to who you are. You know, it's like, okay, I get a Nigerian who grew up in Lagos is like a major metropolitan area where all different cultures come to Lagos for commerce or whatever, you know. So you might have Igbo houses, they all growed up around each other for the most part. Now, it's gonna be a difference. It's gonna be a difference between, maybe not a big difference, maybe not as big of a difference, but it's those slight cultural differences where you get a Yoruba dude that grew up, you know, on the island or whatever, you know, in like an integrated community with different tribes. So he's used to being around. Then if you get somebody, the same Yoruba person, but he grew up in the village. He grew up in the village in Yoruba land or whatever, Abu Kuta or whatever, you know what I mean? So his cultural experience is going to be different, and he's going to have a deeper connection with his roots in Yoruba, whereas the person who grew up in Lagos, he may not even speak Yoruba, you know, but he is Yoruba, but that wasn't something that he needed in his day-to-day life, those interactions with just purely other Yoruba people, and he didn't, you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I understand what you're saying.
So you could look at the South as more of a like village type upbringing as it relates to New York.
You know, I think who was I talking about yesterday? I couldn't mention his name, right? Because if I mention his name, YouTube normally normally bans my video. But I'll say his initials, MXJ. Do you know who I'm talking about? Mika. His first name is Mika.
No, what is it?
He was in Texas. He was the guy from Texas who shot the police officers.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
He was a nutcase.
Sorry?
He was a nutcase. Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, but wasn't he sort of? He was of course a Southerner, and he was. He was. What kind of?
He was in one of those groups like I don't want to say, but he was in something. He was in like this friends group, like the Hebrew Israelites type of variation. He wasn't into like ADOS or anything like that.
Okay.
He might have been a Moor or something along those lines. One of them.
Yeah.
But I think his situation was more like PTSD and just like mental health. Like if you listen to a story, like he had came back from war, and at that time it was a lot of everything was so polarizing. You know, he just got caught up in that whole media frenzy of thinking everybody out to get him, and he got to save Black America, and you know. That's a real thing in America. Like America drive you crazy like that. If you get caught up in the whole media and white supremacy, like that stuff will wear down on you.
Yeah. Wait a minute. Last African, remember, Art Cathy is ADOS. I don't think Art Cathy is ADOS.
Art Cathy never speaks to ADOS. Art Cathy always says I need my FBA, my B1s, and that's why I was saying like for Nagmeezy,
FBA.
Look at that's the Tariq Nasheed like faction. That's why I was saying like if Nagmeezy would have just stuck to I'm a foundational Black American, I'm B1, like I wouldn't have no problem with him because I wouldn't even take him serious. You know what I mean? Because they're more so the Tariq Nasheed. Tariq Nasheed is almost like a comedian. Like people with common sense don't really take Tariq Nasheed serious. You know what I mean? Literally, like it's just entertainment. You know what I mean? So, but he speaks the lineage and all that. So,
Yeah.
if Nat would go around picking fights talking about FBA, I wouldn't care. But being that so much stuff that they trying to accomplish and doing right now, and it's so much slander in the mainstream media trying to discredit Ado, it's like, bro, you doing us an injustice by just running around picking fights and doing all this and speaking of it, because you can't really speak the ADOS if you don't understand the economics and the political aspect of it. You
Yeah.
dig what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah. It sounds like his heart is in the right place,
Because
but
now,
he's.
I don't even think that. I think it's a superiority complex, and he trying to push his own thing. Because you got to look at the momentum that ADOS has right now, and what ADOS is going. And ADOS got a machine behind it, as far as like the you understand it. That's you understand it. Like when you're talking about SEO and the algorithm and stuff like that. It
Yeah.
means something when you put ADOS in the title or you put hashtag ADOS. You know what I mean? It's gonna be a certain push. So he's trying to attach himself to a movement and to do something that the movement isn't even about.
Okay.
You understand what I'm saying?
What do you think his end goal is then? Sort of, is it just
He
to?
wants to do exactly what he's doing. Like, I'm not saying what he's doing he's not sincere with. He wants to be the Captain Black American in Europe, acting as if he's fighting white supremacy and doing some whatever he got going on, whatever. Like, he probably true to it, but it has nothing to do with ADOS.
Oh,
But he
okay.
wants to be the Pan-African foundational Black American, super Negro, and wake up all the Africans and start a revolution in Europe somewhere. But that's not
Yeah,
what ADOS is about.
it's strange that he's attached himself to the organization, is it not? Though, because at some point he was attached to the organization. I think he was. Was he registered or
He was
something like
never
that?
he was attached to the organization. The only thing is that the other brother that he was speaking of that he fell out with, I'm gonna give his channel a shout out if you don't mind.
Go
But
ahead.
it's a brother named Kobe with a channel called Black American Clothing.
Kobe.
And his name Kobe, Black American Clothing. And that's where I first came across Nakmeezy at. So that brother is more so he's his content is kind of like he got an interesting story. So he's married to a Liberian woman. He stayed in Ghana for 6 years. He speaks Twi. He
Oh
came
wow.
back. So yeah, so he's ADOS, and he's like, man, listen, he kind of like does what Nakmeezy wants to do. So he speaks a lot about Africans and his experiences over there. And that's why Nakmeezy frame him as if, oh, the guy hates Africans, but he's married to an African. When we was backstage, Nakmeezy said, yeah, I called him out. I said that your wife was African and you a hypocrite because you married an African. And see, that's why I brought up Nakmeezy's wife. That's the only reason I brought it up. Because, okay, you criticize that man for marrying an African woman, but what he did was he lived in Africa for 6 years and met a woman in Africa, married her, had a child with her, and brought her back to America. That's a fundamental difference between meeting a biracial woman from the Caribbean and fleeing to Europe. So not to get into that because that's not something that even matters. But I'm just saying you can't criticize and speak of other people's wives and then feel as though, oh, you talked about my wife. It's like, bro, if you wouldn't have personalized the conversation from the get-go, then it wouldn't even been a non-starter, So when you talk about, so what have you done for Ado? It's like, bro, I'm here. Like, you didn't even vote. Like, voting is a fundamental principle as it relates to ADOS. Being involved in the political process, that's a fundamental principle as it relates to ADOS. So you can't be in Europe married to a woman that's not even ADOS, and not even the fact that her not being ADOS matters anything. I'm just saying, it's like your life isn't even centered in what you're trying to portray as
Mm.
though you're at the forefront of. You're not. You don't have anything to do with ADOS, bro. And I say that respectfully.
Yeah. It does. I mean, that's what when he first approached me. I think he approached me because I made a video essentially supporting the actions of Mika. So I made a video about that, and he approached me after that. So, and he seemed to speak a lot about this. What is 50 deep? What is this 50 deep? 50 blocks.
Some imaginary prison fighting style that only him and people from New York give a damn about. Nobody. I mean, honestly, it's a prison. It's just a prison style of boxing that New York is into. Nobody cares. No cultural relevance. For all I know, a Panamanian immigrant invented it in New York.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's some prison babble. It's prison bull crap.
Okay.
Bull crap.
Okay.
Only people in and out of prison would know about something like that.
Because I'm guessing, because I saw one of his videos and that he made when he was in Holland, and I think he went to a guy's house, and this guy was from the Dutch Antilles, started speaking to him. He had his T-shirt, this 50 deep T-shirt, or 50, whatever it's called. Anyway, he had that draped over it, and
that's why I'm telling you. Like, I don't take him. You see, right now, and this isn't even personal. It's just at this moment, like ADOS is coming. We just won election, so now it's almost you can look at it as almost like ADOS 2.0. Like we've been through the whole Africa whatever thing. We've been through that. I mean, you can pull up your receipts right now, Yvette Carnell's channel, and look at the last time she made videos about Africans. I mean, it was almost 2 years ago, years ago. So it's so far removed from that, but there's elements surrounding ADOS, low-hanging fruit, that keeps on the conversation, dumbing down the conversation.
It does.
So it's like it's almost as if we got a clean house right now. Like we're in the process of like clean the house, but now we gotta so we already done stated our claim with the Africans. They know where we stand on that. If you feel like we xenophobic or you feel like we hate Africans, I'm sorry you feel that way. But we're not gonna keep on having that conversation. So now it's time to look around and be like, okay, so you just clean the house. You know what I mean? Just clean the house and being able to call other people out that may be keeping things going. Because it's like for example, like him doing the video, it's like for some reason he done went full steam in support of the K squad and trying to make it an ADOS versus African thing. Oh well, we got it. Like, bro, listen, ADOS don't have nothing to do with K. They're actors, they're clowns to us essentially. You know what I mean? So you went there for essentially 30 days, and now you act like you just run it. You never had no intentions on living there. You know what I mean? You just went there, shot a video. So don't bring us into that. You know what I mean? We don't need that energy around us, man. We don't want to, so don't use ADOS as like a reason for you to keep this stuff going, to create like a following. Because, ADOS, we some of us, we suckers for that type of stuff. Like when it feel like, you know what I mean? Oh, we gotta, especially when people make it into a divisive thing, like if Africans say something, you had ADOS going back, like all those diaspora wars that went on Twitter 3 years ago. Like we far removed from that, man. We don't want to have anything to do with that anymore. We more so concentrated on campaigning and politics and things like that. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah,
we don't need all of it.
I what did I do? I spoke to him a few months ago, and I literally had to block the guy. I had to block him from my social media because and when I did that, he fired back, right? And then after that, I had a ton of emails coming in from all over the world. His enemies emailing me, telling me intimate things about his private life, about his family life, about I'm like, yo.
but if
this
you
is not what I signed up for.
Huh? But if you look at him, though, that's what he does. He just scours in and out of Pan-African spaces and looking for a fight. Jump on the line panel and, oh, you need to stand on this like a man and do. Oh, you don't
Yeah.
disrespect Ados. And it's like, bro, listen, leave Ados out of that. If that's what you want to do it as the Pan-African that you are. You're a Pan-African. You're in Europe and you're dealing with all type of people from other races. So just do it on that, man. Ados as your catalyst to, fight these battles.
Yeah.
Because we don't have nothing to do. We don't want to do. We don't have anything to do with that.
Yeah, because I think he's giving a lot of he's giving them a bad name, right? He's giving your organization a bad name. That's essentially going around.
Exactly. And you keeping us in a rut. Like we can't even advance past certain conversations because Africans and other people just gonna keep on coming. Oh, y'all don't like Africans. You said Nagmeezy said, like, bro, we're not trying to give him no viral moment with him beefing with some Africans with Ados in the midst of it. You know what I mean? With Ados in the title. And then you see this bozo in the viral video saying something stupid about Africans, and then it reflect on all Ados.
Yeah. I can understand that. So you guys have got to be careful, right? Literally got to be careful for agent provocateurs, people who are coming into the organization and looking to derail your efforts.
Exactly.
Yeah, okay, thank you for letting me know that.
That's why I react. That's why I reacted like I did when he brought up the email. Oh, you said I'm not black. It's like, see, man, this is the stupidity that we do not want to be associated with. And it goes to show his lack of understanding as it relates to Ados, because Ados never speaks to race. If you listen to the verbiage from Ados, we never harp on race. We never harp on race nor sexuality. It's all about lineage. You can be a biracial transgender as long as you have that link to slavery. Then you pretty much Ados. We gotta claim it. You know what I mean? We not. So that's why when people bring up assaults on Yvette Carnell, not she's gay or whatnot, it's like that's just stuff for hanging fruit. You know what I mean? Like we don't even entertain that, because as long as your lineage dates back to Ados, dates back to slavery, then you Ados, and that's not even a topic of discussion. But you want to take the conversation into a debate. Like, what sane individual would debate whether or not you black or not? Like, bro, we see you black. Nobody. That's not even. You know what I mean? The email was about the admixture, and we know that we got admixture. No real Ados person would deny the fact that we got admixture in our lineage. That's why it's not about race. So when people take the conversation down the path about race, you know that they don't know what they're talking about. You know, it's just low hanging fruit for them to latch on to. Ados is about lineage.
Oh, wait a minute. I didn't hear that last part, there, Daniel. But I kind of understood what you're saying.
Ados is about lineage.
I'm struggling to hear. Struggling to hear Danny at this moment.
Oh, you can't hear me? You can't hear me?
No, I can't hear you.
No. Let me leave and come back in.
Okay. No. I'll wait until Danny gets his. I'll wait until. He's gonna go and come back. So sorry, Kolan Nut Village TV. I'm not quite sure how you send them. I think it's something to do with super stickers or something like that, right? Something like that. Yeah. Something like that. Anyway, I'm sorry about that. Yeah. So basically, this is what ADOS have to look out for. So essentially, they have people who are saying they are ADOS. Some of them want to be ADOS. Some of them want to follow, but do not have the lineage back to slavery, right? And if they don't have that lineage, right, and if they are found out to not have that lineage, then clearly they can't be part of any reparational thing that happens later on in the future. So what ADOS are doing now is they're trying to, I'm guessing this is what they're doing. They're trying to do their best to secure who is and who isn't due reparations, because in the future, things will change. It's inevitable that in the future, things will change, right? Politics will change. the demographics of America will change. I mean, everybody knows that most of the people in the United States of America will not be white before the end of this century. So it's important for them to act now, so to make sure that those people who are due those reparations, when and if it does happen 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, 40 years from now, that they know who they are and they start that registration process right now. I wonder how many people are on that list. I wonder are they actually making a list? It's a good question. Sorry, let me just check some of these. So my people family has been in the United States for at least 300 to 400 years, and as somebody for righteous black right home told me to go back to Africa because I said I did not know it does. Well, wait a minute, 400 years. Did America exist 400 years ago? Not the way as it exists now, right? Did it exist? 16? Not the way it is now. Well, we've got God of Jacob and Mr. Pirate Brain online here. Maybe they can clarify what Danny was saying a little earlier. Hello, gentlemen.
Hey, how you doing today?
Hello, gentlemen. I'm good. I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing fine, thank you.
Great.
Okay. I've got God of Jacob here. God of Jacob, did you mute yourself then? Sorry.
I think I'm here. I think.
Yeah, you're here, but you was on mute. I just unmuted you anyway. Just unmute yourself if you want to listen in, and if you want to add, if you want to, you can come in and say your thing later. But I'm going to speak to Mr. Pirate Brain first. Listen, what Danny was saying earlier. I mean, did you agree totally with him that essentially the guys in the South are more focused because they don't have to deal with multiple ethnicities, multiple different so-called black people from the North, Dominican blacks, Puerto Rican blacks. They don't have to deal with that sort of stuff. So the ones in the South are more focused. There's a lot they don't have to deal with. So their ethos is more purer. Their ideology is more purer. Is that true?
I don't want to speak for people up north or even. I'm from Baltimore, which is still South, but I live, like I said, in Texas, which is definitely South. And you got to look at the history of black people in the South. I mean, like Juneteenth, slavery was over 2 years before Texas got the memo. So the people here in Texas were still living in slavery. You got to look at that lineage and what black folks, ADOS, had to go through. And a lot of people confuse it. I kind of wish that, Doherty and, if I'm pronouncing his name correct, and Dr. Claude Anderson, and Antonio Moore and those cats, I wish all of them had come up with a slightly different name. And I'll tell you why. Because you hear a lot of people going African descendants of slavery. So then what happens? African people come over here and they tie into it. So even though is as much as it is pinpointing what is really so, they have found a way to co-opt it again, instead of American descendants of slavery. Because we know most people in the diaspora were descendants of slavery somewhere. But see, nobody suffered the brutality and the just relentless slavery that Americans suffer to this day.
Yeah.
I mean, we suffer slavery to this day here in this country. People think, oh, well, you committed a crime. No, all you got to do is be walking in the street and they decide to violate you and charge you with something and go prove your innocence. So you're still, they put you in jail and you're a slave.
Yeah.
No one wants to talked about that. I'm not really trying to do the speeches that Jacob does or Danny does for ADOS, because I haven't I haven't really done all of the research that I should have been doing. I should be doing. So I don't speak for it in that terms. I speak for it defending it, because when I see people saying ADOS is divisive and they try to speak on the money, pocket watching what ADOS should get or shouldn't get, and they don't even belong to the group, I find that to be offensive.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's offensive if you ask me.
I want to bring God of Jacob in here. Are you still online?
Yeah, if you can hear me, I am.
I can hear you loud and clear, sir. Let me ask this question. A bit of a personal question. Are you a northerner or a southerner?
Well, I own a home in Florida, Pensacola, Florida.
Okay.
And I own a home in Virginia, but I'm originally from Cleveland, Ohio. So that would make me Midwest.
Okay. All right. So you're very much a southerner, right? I mean,
Virginia is really not southern, if you really want to think about it.
Yes, it is. Virginia is below the Mason-Dixie line.
Yeah, technically, but if you come down here, you would think you in little DC and little New York. It's changed,
I know,
man.
I'm from
It's
Baltimore, so I get it.
Yeah.
Baltimore is the South too, but when you're in Baltimore, they consider they from the North.
Yeah, you tell the Carolinas that they'll tell us we East Coast.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. So, you listened to what Danny was saying. I'm not sure whether you heard what Danny said, God of Jacob, but he was essentially saying that essentially the Northeast, the ADOS in the Northeast are going to have more problems in identifying who is ADOS and who isn't, because of the different black ethnicities that exist up north. Essentially, that it just makes things a little more tougher. He's not saying it's not possible, but he's saying it makes things more tougher. Whereas in the South, they can be a lot more, bam, this is who we are, right? And we've got everybody here, and we know who is ADOS. And those other people, because there are, of course, there are continental Africans who are living in Texas. I know this, right? I know this. A lot of Nigerians live in there as well. They stand out there, right? There's no question who is ADOS in the South, whereas in the North, it's kind of more. Do you believe that?
I agree with him to some degree. I mean, most of the stuff he says, I do agree with. But this whole difference in North and South, it's really not that wide. I mean, our music is different, but they bang down in the South just like they bang up in New York. Jordan sell in the North just like they sell in the South. You get what I'm saying? So I don't see a real big difference. If you not the difference I think you're trying to make. You get what I'm saying? We listen to rap music the same. We go to church the same. I used to visit my people down in Georgia when I was younger. They go to church every day of the week, almost all day long. I come home to Cleveland. Guess what? They do the same thing, because the blacks in North are really from the South. You get what I'm saying? Over time,
exactly.
we kind of go ahead, brother. You got it.
Exactly. It's like in Chicago.
So I don't really see a big
if you look at the migration that we did, because my family's from South Carolina, you see, but I was born in Baltimore. We lived, because we migrated up there in the 60s, in the 50s, I should say, and to get away from Jim Crow. And here's another thing that happens in the North that I think he might have been alluding to. I don't want to speak for him, but I've seen this, is that, for example, you're up north and you run into a Dominican and they'll be my complexion or even darker, okay? and they'll say, I'm not black, I'm Dominican. You know, or you run into a Puerto Rican and they'll say, you know, my complexion are darker, and they'll say, I'm Puerto Rican, you know, or you'll run into a gay person and say, I'm LGBTQ. And it's like, nah, you black first. And if you believe that, if we got to talk to you about that, then you're dealing with some other issues that you really got to resolve before we can even have this conversation. Because the police don't pull you over and go, oh, can I see your gay card, please? You know, can I see your Puerto Rican card? They don't care. You know, when you go in for a job, they don't care about what you claiming other than blackness. They look at your skin as your passport. You know, but they're getting confused because they don't want to be black. And the Dominican don't have the lineage from here. Even though Puerto Rico's in the United States, they don't really have that lineage that we have.
No,
You know?
they don't have the same history, do they? Clearly,
they don't have the same history. Yeah,
no,
they don't have the same history, and they don't have the same wounds that have been bashed into our DNA. Yeah,
okay.
They don't have the same history, and they don't have the same wounds that have been.
You still there?
Yeah, somebody had on the computer, so it was echoing.
Yeah, it was Danny. I've muted him now. You can come back in a bit. But so what is? I mean, I don't want to. I'm literally all I'm doing here is I'm educating myself because I find it fascinating. We don't have anything like this in the UK. Like we are sort of with our push for reparations, we've kind of just left it to the organizations, and these organizations are all funded. I know a lot of people eyebrows are going to stand up now, but a lot of them are funded by people like the Rothschilds and Soros. The Soros, what's it called again? What's his? He's got an organization, but anyway, I forgot the name of his organization. But a lot of our push for our reparations are funded by these guys, right? And we are just left out of it. We haven't really argued because we haven't argued with the continental Africans who've moved to the United Kingdom simply because we're like, hey, you know, we know who we are, and our cultures are so different. It's easy to see that who is a foundational Black British person and who is a continental African that came to the UK 50, 60, 70 years ago. But the problem is, and I'll tell you this, is probably the same problem that that the ADOS organization is going to have, in that 30 years from now, the demographics will be different. Everyone's going to be mixed. It's not like my son is going to go out there and be like, oh, wow, look at this beautiful Black woman. Look at her. Wow. I'm going to get with her. And then boom, she ends up being from Bolivia. And then he's like, nah, I'm not going to mess with that. It's not going to happen.
I disagree with you on that.
Yeah, go ahead.
And I'll tell you why. When I was young, and Jacob will know what I'm talking about. When I was younger, I was from Baltimore, but when I was in my teen years, we moved to a place called. Somebody got an echo going.
Sorry.
It's a computer. Yeah. So when you gotta tell everybody to cut their computer volumes down when they come in, because that's what's going on. Jacob will know, when I was younger, we moved into a place called Columbia, Maryland, and it was a very mixed area. Okay.
Am I coming through it all right?
It was a very mixed area. So what wound up happening is we grew up with different races of people. And my thought growing up was, well, wow, you know what? And when in 20, 30 years, racism will be over because we grew up together, we're intermarrying with different people, and you know, all of these racists will die off. You know, that was the thought. And we'll be kind of homogenized. You know, we're having light skin. Not that it was anything wrong with dark skin, but all of us will kind of be a homogenous group of people. Well, okay, that was in 1979.
Wow.
Here we are. What's this? 1920? It's worse. It's worse now than when I was 18. So by you saying that in 20 years, 30 years, it's going to be different, by studying my history, I would have to disagree with you on that. I would hope you would be right.
Let me ask you this question.
I agree 100%. 100% totally agree with that. That's why I laughed when he said it. I was like, man, we heard that before.
Is that God of Jacob talking?
Yeah, I might have to drop and come back in. I'm having some problems right
you do that.
I think it's the computer.
Yeah. Yeah. Who was that? Is that? Yeah. Okay then. Yeah, we had a problem with the line there. Danny, nice to welcome you back.
All right.
Hey, Danny.
What's going on, brother?
Yeah, I'm good. I was just speaking to Mr. Pirate Brain. We was just talking about the future and why perhaps I basically made. I said that in the future, all of the races are going to mix, right? More and more people are going to mix. You can see that around us. It's happening whilst we're speaking, right? So the ADOS organization really needs to act sooner rather than later. And he disagreed with that. He was like, I don't know if you want to explain to Danny yourself, Mr. Pirate Brain.
Yeah, what I was telling him is I moved from Baltimore to a place called Columbia, Maryland, which was very homogenized. It was, it was kind of a city built on kind of Rouse's dream of everybody living together in peace and harmony. And I went to school with white people. Wasn't a lot of Mexican people at that time, or I should say Latinos, because we just didn't have the type of immigration in the 1970s that goes on now. That didn't start until the 80s. Okay, and so what wound up happening is I thought, we were going to be mixed and racism would die off when these old people died off, and here we are 40 years later, and it's worse than it ever was back then when I was a teenager.
I think
so. That would, excuse me, I'm gonna say one more thing. That would inform me that 30 years from now, it's not going to be any better.
I think that I think that speaks to the underlying message around ADOS, and where the past generation kind of like failed us, and what ADOS are addressing now, because you had this kumbaya mentality from the blacks who were just so happy to be integrated, to be so happy for integration and whatnot, and accepting. So on one side, they're celebrating integrating into white society, and you had the other side that wanted to embrace all this whole multiculturalism, kumbaya type mentality. Well, okay, we're going to bring in all these immigrants, and all these immigrants, they're going to be on our side against white people, and we're just going to create this whole. And what we see is that it was a failure. It didn't work by no means, by no metrics at all. So even as
we didn't know any better, we didn't know any better. We thought
Well,
that
you have those that knew better. You had those like that knew better, like your Malcolm X's, your
yeah.
Booker T. Washingtons, and all the black people, your Marcus Garveys, and everybody that spoke of like almost black separatism, because the media will portray it as though everybody supported Martin Luther King and wanted to just integrate with white people, when that wasn't the truth. That wasn't the
right,
truth. So
right.
that's why in America, it's like how you see in South Africa how Mandela is elevated to this almost sacred position within society. But if you look on the ground level, at the ground root level, a lot of black South Africans were really disappointed in Mandela, but the media won't really show that. And
Right. Yeah.
a lot of ADOS, like we in hindsight, am I echoing?
I can't
I
hear
hear you. I
anything.
hear you well. I don't think. I
Like,
don't
we
know.
support Martin Luther King, but in hindsight, though, we just see where it didn't work out how we planned. Like the brother said, it just didn't pan out how we planned.
Okay. So, yeah, just real quickly, Mr. Pirate Brain, can you still hear me, by the way?
Yeah, I hear you. I hear you.
Yeah, I hear you.
Okay, so I want you to try and answer these questions because somebody asked it inside and maybe you can as well, Danny. Right. So let's say someone is full, ADOS, 100%, can trace his lineage all the way back, knows for certain that he's ADOS. And then he has children with someone who is not ADOS, right? Are those children ADOS as well, even though they have blood from, say, Chinese or whatever? Would you still consider those children ADOS?
In my opinion, I would. I can't speak for a movement. I would say they have a lineage because here's the thing: most of us are mixed with something. I mean, most of us were our ancestors were raped on the plantations. So we have half of something, whether we chose to be half or whether we were forced to be half. We have some mixture in our lineage. So I would think so, but I'm not the one to speak on it. I just my opinion.
What would you say, Danny? Is there? I mean, this is probably where the confusion comes from, right? I mean, there are people out there who don't know whether they're ADOS or not because half of their lineage, say their father's side, is 100% ADOS, and then on their mother's side, they are Irish or Welsh or whatever.
I mean, ADOS.
Go ahead.
Listen, this is why we posted the link to ADOS 101. It's quite clear what it is, how to identify as ADOS. As long as one of your parents can trace the lineage back to chattel slavery and has identified as black in the last 10 years, dating back 10 years, you're ADOS.
Well, that's pretty simple.
It's extremely simple.
Okay.
It's extremely simple.
So, all right. Then.
Now, if you decide, if one of your parents is Irish and you decide to go, I'm not black, I'm Irish, then you just screwed the pooch.
You screwed up the
bag. We shouldn't be laughing like that. But yeah, I understand that now because clearly you have a lot of these Afro-Brazilians. I'm going to speak to a lady, actually. I'm going to have a Zoom conversation with her about how it's going to happen in Brazil because a lot, and I mean a lot, of Afro-Brazilians or black Brazilians do not identify as black. it's the opposite way round, right? In America, you have the one drop rule. So you have, thank you very much, Wendy Hess, by the way, and Cola Nut as well. Thank you very much for that. In America, you have the one drop rule. So if you have one drop of black blood, you can consider yourself as black. You can identify as black. But in Brazil, it's the opposite way around. So if you have one drop of white blood, most black Brazilians call themselves white, and I don't mean mixed race or mulatto. White. That they identify as that. So now that this conversation has been brought up now about reparations, I wonder what's going to happen to those demographics. Are more people going to start? Oh, wait a minute. Well, I know I said I was white sort of 8 years ago, but clearly I'm not. you know, a lot of people are going to get hit really hard when that conversation gets brought up in the future. A lot of those people are going to get hit really hard in Brazil because people are going to say, okay, oh yeah, you're due reparations, are you? Okay, then let's look back at your history. Boom, 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 boom. Oh, well, actually, on your ID card, when you was going to America, you said you were white. So, sorry, can't help you. That is going to happen a lot in Brazil. It is going to happen because the lady who I'm going to have a Zoom conversation with, she was in the Olympic team. She was in the Olympic team and she went to Los Angeles, right? She was in the judo team. And there was a big commotion that happened at the airport because many of those black athletes that were coming into the United States put on their card, their entry card, that they were white. And they were handing these cards over to white American customs officials. They were looking at them like, well, so it's a weird problem. It is.
But see, you're conflating Brazilians' race issues with America's. We don't have nothing to do with that.
No, I think what he's touching on is I think what he's speaking to is the different ethnicities.
Yeah. I mean, clearly. I mean, of course, you've got to do your own thing. That's okay, but you're not the only ones who are looking for reparations. I think we're doing it differently in the Caribbean. We're focused on Lloyd's of London, these massive banks. We're going after the corporations and the banks that wouldn't exist if it wasn't for us. And we think we have more of a better chance because we don't need to seek politically. We don't have to have that political power. We can just go to the largest courts in the land and say, well, this happened for us. And we think we have more of a chance because we don't need to. Lloyd's of London. Sorry, yeah. Can you hear me? Right, brilliant. So Lloyd's of London was, of course, they're a bank that were instrumental in the sugar trade, right? So in Jamaica, the sugar trade was the trade which sort of grew that bank, okay? Made it the most powerful bank in the world at one point, okay? If you go to Lloyd's of London now, they've still got a building in the centre of London. What's the name of it? The City of London. They have a bank there. It's in a part of London. Well, that's
how Citicorp was here, and Bank of America and Chase Manhattan. All of them were involved in it. AIG, one of the biggest insurance companies, they insured and bonded the slaves. So, yeah, I think we would have a better chance at getting reparations from them too. But what they did was they preempted the fact that we were going to come after them. So they offered us reparations in the way that they wanted to give it to us. They didn't say, okay, we're going to give all ADOS, cut every ADOS a check for $100,000. No, they said, we're going to set up programs in your communities and we're going to make what do you call it? Little opportunity zones, you know. and what happens with that is they just come in and gentrify. Because what good is an opportunity zone if I don't have money to join in the opportunity?
Yeah, that's very true. That's a slap in the face. That's actually
exactly. We're going to give money to the HBCUs when, if you look at Howard University, half of the people, or more than half of the people, are not even ADOS. They're from India, or from, I mean, look at Kamala Harris. She's a perfect example. She's only claiming black now. Watch when the election's over, she's going to be claiming Indian. You know, now all of a sudden you're going to see a lot of Indian commentators on the news and this and that. This is how they do us, you know. And what good is HBC? You know, I would be more impressed if they said every ADOS person, no matter how old you are, has free education. As high as you want to go, up to your doctorate if you want to. If they did that, that would impress me.
Okay.
You know, I can't even go back to school. How am I going to pay back the student loan at my age?
It's like student loans. I mean, that's just crazy.
I should be able to go to school for free. I should have. I mean, I'm not the one to claim the things, but if you're not going to give me money, I need free education. I need every loan that I've ever taken out, even my home loan, to be forgiven. I need free health care. You know. And we can start there if you don't want to cut the check. I need to be considered tax exempt, so I don't have to pay any more taxes for the rest of my life. You know, just as the people, blacks over in England should, because you were paying back your slave owners for your freedom up until 2015.
2015. That is embarrassing. We should ask for every penny of that back with interest. That is disgusting. That they let us do that. It really angers me that they allowed us to do that and then kept it under the carpet.
Exactly.
Like,
and by the time you found out, it was over. You were already
over. Exactly, you know? Because it's only coming out now. People are, yeah. Do you know what happened?
So
it's crazy.
We should be tax exempt. Our homes should be free. You know, and then if you don't want to cut a check for $100,000, okay, for us to live a middle class existence without paying taxes, we should get $4,000 a month for the rest of our lives.
Precisely.
And they can't say that they can't do it because they do it to the Jewish people. They give them money every year. So for them to say they can't do it, it is a lie.
Just let me know. Just please answer me this question: Why is America paying the Jews reparations for? What did they do to the Jews?
You got me on that.
It doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make sense.
It doesn't.
But know, I'm not going to argue about it. If they get in their bag, I'm not here to bash anybody else's bag. But I don't want nobody bashing our bag. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
If we didn't have to pay taxes for the rest of our lives, then that will close the wealth gap. And if we got free health care, the reason why, and I see God of Jacob said this, and I'm going to tell you why having free health care would help us. Completely free health care. I used to own a record label when I lived in Florida. And when I started off, me and my wife, I had our health insurance. It was $230 a month. That seems expensive to some people, but I had my own business. I could afford it. Then they changed the laws, and every year it started going up. I had a corporate health insurance, and it went up to $500. Okay, I was like, dang, but I still could pay it. It went up, and I became diabetic, so I had to have health insurance. And then it went up to $750. Then they said, well, in order for you to get the corporate protection on healthcare, you have to have over 50 employees. I didn't have 50 employees. So that next year I had to pay $1,500 a month for healthcare.
What?
I paid it for like 3 months, and then 9/11 happened, and then my profits went down because my distributors were up in New York. So I had to go back to work, mainly because I needed health care. So if we had health care, small businesses would be able to flourish. Small businesses would be able to flourish. As ADOS, we wouldn't need to go and work for the man because we're good at starting small businesses, but they rob us through healthcare.
Yeah.
They rob us through healthcare, so we can't afford to. So if they give, if we can get free healthcare, free education, and the education doesn't do us no good to take out a loan, because as long as we have to go ask them for a job, they're not going to hire us. So what's the point of getting free education if you can't get the work that you were educated to get?
Do you know, I tell you this now, before we get into the conversation, I'll tell you this now. I cannot even fathom how Americans pay for their health insurance. Really, it's mind blowing. In Europe, we have health insurance as well, and we also have private health insurance. But we always have control as people. We always have control on how much we pay the health insurance companies. In the Netherlands, they have two health insurance companies, right? And the amount of money that that Dutch people pay in health insurance, it always hovers around $100 a month. Everybody pays that, $100. Just it's a blanket one, and they never put it up. And the reason they never put it up is because the shareholders of those insurance companies is the public. The people own the insurance company. They would never put it in the hands of some rich dudes who owns a yacht. It's not all about profit. They wouldn't do that. They just said, no, we'll get the public to literally own. They own a percentage of it. I think it's 60%. Okay, so they own a large, most of the percentage of that company, and they get to regulate how much money they pay. And it goes up every single year by a tiny amount. I think it's just inflation they add to it, and that's it. Why are they going to F themselves over for? They're not going to do that. It's a brilliant system over there. And then in a lot of countries like France and in England, the imperial countries that went around, of course, taking Africa and taking parts of India and Asia and China and South America, those you don't even pay anything in those countries for health insurance. And they're building brand new hospitals. We're not talking dodgy little hospitals here, there, and everywhere. They literally have everything they want. If you get cancer, everything is free. You never put your hand in your pocket at any point, right? And I
Can I ask you a question?
Sorry, yeah, Danny, go ahead.
I'm going to veer off course a little bit, but what's your opinion on it, right? Because you see a lot of women around ADOS being xenophobic or whatever. But as a Jamaican from the UK, was your family like a part of the first wave, like that Wimbush era, that first wave of Jamaicans that came into the country?
That's a good question. I'm going to tell you this, right? 30 years ago,
and that's not to criticize you. I just want to set the stage to see if you can relate to where ADOS is coming from.
Yeah, well, I was speaking to Pirate Brain about that earlier. You see, because we mix very well in the UK. The black people mix very well. Somalians, Eritreans, West African continentals, Jamaicans, Dominicans, it doesn't matter. We sort of all mix together. So it would be very, very difficult right now to find a 100% ADOS in this generation now, because everybody is pretty much mixed. However, we still have that generation of us that came directly from a lineage from African descent of slaves like me. I'm descent, both my father and my mother, 100%, no ifs, ands, or buts, from Jamaica, from the small island, were like their parents' probably three or four. Can you believe it's only 3 or 4 generations back? Right. They are 100% it. But my children, I mean, from what you said, Danny, earlier, my children are also ADOS as well. from what you said.
Okay,
Clearly.
but this
obviously,
isn't more so. This isn't more so directed to ADOS in particular
so,
as it relates to
sorry, yeah,
slavery.
yeah, sorry,
But
yeah.
what I wanted your opinion on is, okay, because the media has a way of misrepresenting certain sentiments. You see, so how you had the whole conservative push in the UK with the Brexit, and how, but in the media, it was portrayed as if it was all white supremacists with the white dude, what is Tony Robinson?
Tommy Robinson, Tommy.
Yeah, so they portrayed it as if it was just a whole white supremacist and everybody just hate black people coming or whatever immigrants coming. But I want to know from you as a Jamaican who have lineage in the UK from that, what was the sentiment on the ground from those that came from that era and been there working and put in work and finally established yourself? What was the sentiment on the ground surrounding Brexit as it related to, just strengthening the immigration policies and how that related to y'all everyday life and working and things of that? Because see, ADOS is villainized for our stance on immigration, but I feel like there's a connection where you could that can be explored between like that same thing that happened that with the Brexit that was happening at that time.
I know what you mean. Let me answer. Okay, so it was a strange one because you had a lot of bigots who took this opportunity to sort of attack us, like that had been there since who fought in World War II and all that sort of stuff. They were attacking us, and we were like, "What are you talking about?" But there were also moderate conservatives who were not attacking us, but attacking Polish people. They were attacking other white people, like Slovaks and Polish, and there isn't many French in the UK, to be honest with you, but Eastern Europeans. They were attacking them, and for me, that's the first time I've ever seen that. Sorry, it wasn't actually. It wasn't because 40 years ago we had the Irish. The Irish, sometimes you would see signs on people's doors: no blacks, no Irish, no dogs. This was only 40 years, 1960s, 1970s. That was the norm to see that. Okay, so we did see it before, but there was a large gap, where everybody just got along, especially in the 1990s. Everyone got along in the 1990s. Everyone was just chilled. Everyone was making money. Everyone was just happy. So it's a crazy thing. We did get some stick, and us as Jamaicans found it, like who came from slavery, right? We were part of the British Empire. We came to the United Kingdom to work and whatever, like that. We didn't actually find an affinity with those people that were going against the Polish and the Slovaks, because we were looking at them as like, you know what, this is what we got 40 years ago. We don't want any part of this. That's how most of us looked at it. If you look at Blacksit, there's another YouTuber called Blacksit. She's Jamaican and she's black and British. So she says the exact same thing as well. It's like we saw this, we've seen all this before with the media and the politics behind it, and the politicians getting behind this racist rhetoric. We didn't want a part of it, to be honest with you. We had more solidarity with.
That's the polarizing aspect of it. With when the nutcases came out, you get what I'm saying? That's like when the nutcases came out, the polarizing. So it's like, whoa, we don't want to be associated with that. As it related with like the moderates on like an economic level and more so temperamental era. Was there any type of did you all identify with that? Like, hold up, man, I've been working here, paying taxes here. How does this Romanian just get here? Y'all bringing in all these Romanians coming in here, and now the jobs my parents once had, now you have Indians coming in here just kicking us in the ass, acting like they don't even, and we've been here. Like, was that sentiment there?
Yeah.
Where it made it somewhat, where it created a rift within like the Black British community from those who was Black British who may have sided with the Brexit in itself, not necessarily the supporters of the Brexit, but the actual sentiments behind the Brexit. Like, man, we need to close off our borders because my parents worked too hard here. Our healthcare is going up, or I don't know how it related to you all economically.
No.
But
The dynamic was different because everyone knew that the immigrants coming into the United Kingdom were paying more in taxes. They were paying more into the public purse than the average white guy who was living in a council estate. And there were a lot of those. Okay, we have a lot of those. It's just like in America.
what exactly is that?
Sorry, a council estate is like the projects. So the projects in England, they're not filled with black people. They're filled with white folk. No, I'm not joking.
You know what? They say you have welfare queens here in the United States, but little do people know there are more white welfare queens than black welfare queens. But they use us because if they put us as the face of welfare, people will hate it. They will hate it.
Exactly. They do it in England too. They try to perceive black people as being poor in the UK.
Right.
And you know what? To a degree, we are more disenfranchised than the rest of, especially the Asians as well. The Asians have really enriched themselves by sticking within their communities. They don't mix. You don't see Asians mixing with the community like, oh yeah, I want to do business with black and what doesn't matter. No, they're just like Asian. They do everything Asian. When they wake up when they step out that door, they would never focus on going to a British shop or going to a Jamaican shop or taking a taxi owned by Jamaican. No, it's just like my money. Sorry, carry on.
The reason I brought that up is because a lot of the slander that you've seen behind ADOS or whatever, it came from behind almost in certain aspects agreeing not with Trump supporters, the supporters that you've seen polarized in the media, but the policies, the anti-immigration policies and, addressing those issues where the nutcases from the right, from the Trump team got so much spotlight on it that it kind of like negated the opinions of ADOS within that, because it creates a confliction. Because it's like people don't see ADOS as Americans. Let's just be honest. When people say American, they're really talking about white Americans. So anything related to America, it's like if you identify with it as an ADOS, it's like, oh, you just want to be down with Massa, you a sellout, And it's like, hell no, we built the White House. You know what I'm saying? It's facts.
Yeah.
We was here. We was here before it was America. We was here. So that created a lot of like vitriol and confusion within the black community, and because you got a lot. That's why I call them delusional hoteps. Like they don't want to be American. Like they feel like that's like a stain on them to say that you're American, to say that you're from the richest country in the world. And your descendants built it. Like they're ashamed of that. And it's like, bro, are you stupid? You know what I'm saying? Like, man, they owe us. Like this us. You know what I'm saying? Can't nobody like. So you'd rather side with a Mexican coming over here to take everything that your people established. Why? Because the legacy of slavery is so ingrained. And see, that's why I feel like black immigrants do better, like immigrants from other countries do better in America, because they don't have the baggage that comes from the lineage of slavery. So when they come here, they just handle their business, and you can't really manipulate them with certain tactics. So like ADOS, not necessarily the movement, but the people, we so manipulate, we'll vote against our own interests, you know what I mean? As long as you can create this boogeyman white supremacist narrative behind it. So we'll hurry up and run from it, even though we'll give you everything we got. Oh, we don't even want to be citizens of no more of America. We want to go to Nigeria. You know what I'm saying? Like, and it's just like, man, are you crazy, man? They owe us, man. This our country too. So I just was wondering where. And I always
they did that in this election. We voted against.
During the whole Brexit.
Oh, I'm sorry.
My bad. Just once. No, because during the whole Brexit, during the whole Brexit thing, I always looked at it, because I'm not emotionally attached to it. So I always looked at it from the outside, like almost not that I could feel them, because I don't listen to a lot of that other stuff. I'm just looking at it for what are they saying in the Brexit? You know what I'm saying? Like what's the
Yeah.
So I kind of like identify with it outside of the emotional base and detached from the whole aspect of it. A lot of time what they conflate is like nationalism and racism is kind of like protectionist, like you protecting your culture, your sovereignty, and people conflate that with you being racist. But it's like, hold up, man, because other countries are allowed to do it. If you look at Africa, all those Ghana is a protection. They practice those protectionist laws. You
Yeah,
can't just
they
cross
do.
the border.
They do. No.
There's no birthright citizenship in
No.
Ghana.
No.
Even if you
No.
have a child in Ghana, that child still isn't Ghanaian.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's like I just looked at it differently.
They are highly protectionist in Africa. I don't know. People make the assumption that they just let anybody in, and you could be American,
And
go to Ghana, and they'll be like, nah.
this is the one thing that Juliet went through, because she was fighting to get citizenship on arrival, and they shut her down. And we even if we found our lineage was to the Gambia, they weren't going to give us citizenship on arrival. And you don't get it necessarily by having children there. Now, I think in Ghana, if you marry a Ghanaian, you can get citizenship.
Yeah,
But
yes, that's true.
you have to go there and marry a Ghanaian. I'm not sure if that's that way in the Gambia, but if you're married and you go there, you kind of
don't get full citizenship. You don't get full citizenship. So if you go to Ghana, and they did this with really good reason, if you go to Ghana, you get married to a woman, you have to still live in Ghana and be married to that woman for 5 years before you get all the rights that all normal citizens get. You can't just get automatic citizenship. And they did this for one good reason, because in Zambia, that's not the case. And all the Chinese were coming in, they were marrying women, just paying them, just get that marriage certificate so they could buy land, because you can't buy land if you're not Zambian and a Zambian national. So they got their Zambian nationality, married a woman, paid her $500. You didn't have to pay them much, because $500 in Zambia is a lot of money. It's a year's salary to some people. Right. Paid them $500. Boom. They were laughing, and that's what a lot of these mining companies, these Chinese mining companies.
But in the Gambia, it was like 15 years. So let's imagine if you go there at our age, you might not be alive in 15 years. And some of those people that went there, you might have seen their YouTube channels. They created nice businesses, nice restaurants and everything, and they could lose that at any moment.
That is nuts. That is absolutely
the right government
nuts.
come in and they lose everything, and so they don't have any stability.
I can't understand why the people haven't just left the Gambia. I mean, it's not like the borders are protected there either, which is really strange. Kwesi Boyd, took this African-American lady, what's her name again? Shantae White, Travel with Tay-Tay, another YouTuber. He took her across the border, but did not go through the border properly. They went around somewhere else. They didn't want to pay for the fees. Obviously, you got corrupt border guards there. It's COVID. So yeah, people go past the border all the time in the Gambia all the time. And they don't pay their border fees because they go elsewhere. Gambia is a tiny country, by the way. I think it's the same size as Baltimore, actually, where you can. So it's a tiny country, but these people are extremely protective, and I'm not sure why, if you know what I mean, because it's not like they don't need the brain power that immigration brings in and all the rest of that stuff. you travel to Germany now, right, and you are, let's say you worked for Google, right, and you did networking, so you did the actual wired networking. You're a black guy, right? Your immigration status would be expedited, so it wouldn't take that long for you to get your German citizenship. It'd be really quick. I'm not sure how quick it is. But as soon as you tell them that you're in the tech industry, they got you. That's it. And a lot of these African countries are not doing it. They're just like, well, so be it. I just don't understand their methods sometimes. Really, it's totally confusing. Sometimes I think there must be somebody. It's very Euro sort of the European way of thinking. No, not the European way. I don't know. Just like somebody else has their hands in the pockets of these politicians, making them make really silly decisions. And it doesn't take much to bribe an official, especially in the Gambia. 15 years. Why would they even pick that number? 15 years to get citizenship. Ridiculous. Guys,
well,
listen,
it's a long time in the life of a human being,
Yeah.
It's just,
It is. It's crazy.
yeah.
It's crazy. But it's coming up to 2 hours. It's a Saturday night. So guys, listen, I just wanted to let you guys know I'm going to stop this in a few minutes anyway. But I'm very happy with tonight's conversation. It was much more healthier, and I've learned a lot more about ADOS, and I learned a lot more about the way Black Southerners and Northern Southerners sort of have that sort of different way of going about things and empowering themselves economically, politically. It's totally different, but it's nice to know that there is a difference, but they still manage to work with one another for that one cause, and that's to get reparations.
I think you have to look at it with us like you would the Wimbush fight over there in the UK. That's a lot different from the slavery problem, because the Wimbush generation, they feel really screwed. We came over there and we did everything that we said we would do, and now you're shipping us back and we don't even know anybody back there anymore.
That's crazy. 50 years, some of them people was 50 years they were living in the UK. And
exactly, and their children were not, so it's a type. I think thinking. If you wanted to compare your fight over there, it would be more comparable to the Wimbush battle.
Yeah, Windrush. Yeah.
I'm thinking of over here. Yeah, the Windrush generation. If you compare to that, they're angry. I've seen some of the court battle, the parliament battles over there, and people talking. They're really angry.
It hurts me sometimes when I hear some of these people standing up saying, "Oh, I never went back to Jamaica because I was too afraid that I wouldn't be able to see my kids and everything else in again." But they were there and they did everything. They were part of the British Empire too, so they were legally there as well. They just changed it halfway through. Absolutely crazy. But listen, I'm going to end this now because it's coming up to 2 hours. And I said I was going to, but we're going to have another chat tomorrow, guys. Okay, we're going to have another chat. Let me absorb what we took in today, and then I'm going to get a new title. Okay, guys. Guys, thank you very much.
Take care of yourself. Thanks for having me on.
Very much. Yeah, thank you very much for coming, guys. Thank you very much for coming in and supporting us as well. And I'll see you tomorrow, hopefully, same time. I think, perhaps a little earlier. So thank you very much for coming in, and I'll speak to you in the next one. Take care, guys. Take care. Thank you.